Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin from Florals.com and today I have my Wild Whisper design team project. Today I'm actually sharing several pocket pages in my Vermont mini album for a trip we took I think it was last summer. So I'm just going to share with you how I'm doing my process for these pages. And all of these pages are themed around one section of our trip was at this sort of museum in Vermont where they had a special exhibit about and seeing real life butterflies. So they had a butterfly room and we got to go and feed the butterflies. We were the only people in there at the time, so it was quite cool to be able to see them up close. So here I'm deciding where all of these pictures will go and what size they will be and just kind of organizing that way. I actually show you guys, I think it's 4 pages total, so you get some different ideas on how to use this collection from Wild Whisper, which is the Palm Paradise collection, their newest one. How you can use it in different ways. So I'm essentially showing you 3 different ways to use this collection with different color schemes based on the collection. So as you can tell, I had quite a few photos. I didn't get to all of them in these 4 pages, so I figured I could keep doing some more butterfly pages after the fact. I'm done with these 3. I just want to start with something to show you guys a little bit of variety in what you can do with this collection, because I know it's not summer everywhere in the world right now, and not all of us get to take tropical vacations during this time of year, but just to give you some inspiration to use it for some other things, like these butterflies or a zoo trip, or there's several other ones you can do as well. So I'm going to start by trying to pick out some items for the 3x4 cards that I plan on picking out. I decided to start on the front page with this floral paper, which is one of my favorites from the collection. I love the bright yellow florals, and it just screams Hawaii to me. Not that I've been to Hawaii, but it screams Hawaii to me. So I'm going to tuck that in, and for the middle section, I decided to go with a more bluer color scheme. So what I'm going to do is cut my cards first and then go back and embellish. So that's sort of the process I'm going through. So I end up taking this pattern, which is just like the bottom of an ocean or lake, and then also this geometric pattern, which reminds me of Morocco a little bit. And I'm actually cutting off some of the darker sections so I can get that brighter pop of blue and white. And now I'm actually rearranging some of my photos so I can get a better look here, because I really didn't like there being photos all the way across the bottom on the inside, but you'll see what I do with that a little bit later. So now to decorate the front page, I pull out a Doodlebug doily, which has this bright pop of blue on it. I did that just so it had a refresher. I would really have liked to use white, however I didn't happen to have white doilies that small. So I went in with the blue, and now you have a zoomed in shot, and there's my cat. Of course, had to make an appearance. And I'm also going to be using some chipboard pieces. I start with this one that says I love this day on the photo of me and the butterfly wings on the exhibit. And I just thought that would be bringing in more of that orange color from that pattern paper from Wild Whisper, which I thought was beautiful. So pulling in those oranges again, since my butterfly in the top left is yellow, that matches the paper, and since the butterfly stand that I'm in front of is orange and red, that pulls in the oranges and reds from those flowers. So I put down this chipboard piece that says I love this day to bring in more of that orange color to the bottom as well, but also have that pop of white. And then once I have my doily laid down, which I accidentally got glue everywhere, so that wasn't good. But once I get my doily glued down, I'll start layering some items up there to make a little bit of a title. But nothing too crazy. I didn't want these pages to be overwhelmed by words. I pick out one that says hello lovely life. And again, it's that perfect shade of red that pops with the butterfly photo, as well as the pictures or the drawings of the flowers in the pattern paper. And to finish it off, I added some butterfly wood veneer and some flower puffy stickers. And these are similar to the hibiscuses in the background paper. These are just some red flowers with some lighter centers that kind of match them. So then I also have these word stickers I thought about using but decided against it. And just adding some more of those same flowers to the bottom just to give it a little bit more pizzazz. And you'll see that I didn't do any embellishing to the top left photo. I kind of just left it plain. I thought it would work best that way. Now I set those pockets aside to dry, and now I'm working on the first page of the inside pages of this 4 set. So I decided to create a little title out of this card here that says Living the Life. And then I also, so now I have 2 loose cards. I have one that says Living the Life and one that's like a cactus. But if I flip the cactus one over, I actually have a black and white striped paper from the other side. And I'll layer those together to give it a bit more dimension, which I think is a great unique way to use these cut-aparts. And if you guys didn't know, this Wild Whisper collection is the base for my How to Kill a Kit with Style kit for the month of November. So I have a bunch of things coordinating with it, including this magic mesh, which is a light blue color, which is one of my favorite colors to work with. And I thought it just added this perfect sort of texture to that background. And it really matched those papers very well. So those will layer up together like that, and I'll even put some foam dots beneath it to give it a little bit more dimension. And my foam adhesive is a little bit old, so I have to actually add some extra liquid adhesive just to make sure it stays put, which is kind of sad, but I need to go buy more foam adhesive sometime soon. But I'm using what I have, even if it's not the best. So I'll glue that there, and it has a little bit of extra texture. And to keep that blue theme going, as well as the butterflies that are blue in the photos, I decide to get this tag out of my stash, which is just, again, that light teal blue, and make a cluster out of it in the bottom left here, kind of balancing out that top section. I also pull out the little tassel bows that I have in my stash, and what I'm going to do with those is actually just use one. I thought the shape of the tassel bow really mimicked the butterfly shape beautifully, so I really wanted to use one on this particular spread because that butterfly is also a deep blue color and this tassel is deep blue color. And then I happen to have these beautiful teal colored ones that match the Wild Whisper paper beautifully, so I end up putting 2 of those on here. I put one on the photo in the top left just above the action in the photo, and then I decided to tuck it around the back side so it has a little bit more of a focus to that weighted side. And then that will leave some room for some journaling at the bottom there. I also pulled out some wood veneer butterflies. I pick out the simpler one to put on this card, and then I pick another piece of wood veneer. It's a little arrow, but it's kind of off screen to point at the butterfly on my dad's hat, which was just a really cool thing that kept happening. And I even just debated using that little rubber arrow, but decided against it. Now I'm working on the other side, which I almost forgot these sides were supposed to kind of go together since you're going to be viewing them at the same time, and I realized that I never finished filling in the top card. So what I decided to do is I will cut another piece of this Moroccan pattern tile, and I actually switched the positions of the photos. So instead of 2 photos on the bottom, I'm actually going to switch it and put one at the top and one at the bottom. So that way it's a little bit more breathability. And then I keep those squares very simple, kind of like I did on the other side there. I just end up filling it in with some little itty bitty items from my stash, which is what really gives this page a lot of breathing room, since the photos are quite centered around being around the butterflies. They're very heavy, they're very focused. I pull out a leatherette sticker, which I think it says very little is needed to make a happy life, and it didn't stand out enough just on the pattern on its own, although it does match it perfectly because it's got that beautiful teal color in it again, which really helps dictate the color scheme for this layout. I put a wood veneer butterfly beneath it and then stack the phrase on top of it so it really pops, and I really love the way that turned out. Next, I have to figure out what I want to put in the top left card. Of course, there's no reason you can't leave a card plain, just let the paper shine, but I'm a little bit of a nitpicker and I really wanted to put something back there. I even thought about using this small strip from the title page of the paper pack, which is just a black and white striped strip that I cut out, but it was a little bit too bold for this, so I decided to just use the butterfly pretty much by itself. I even thought about using a wood veneer word, but it wouldn't fit in the pockets the way I'd like it to, so we just go with little butterfly. So I looked through a bunch of other items in my stash to try to see if anything else will fit that, as well as the cut-aparts for the Wild Whisper kit, but what I ended up doing is just going with the butterfly. It was just the simplest thing to do, and that's what it looks best. So once I get that glued down, then I can move on to the last section of the pocket pages that we're going to be working with, and I decide to kind of go with a completely different color scheme than this side. Like I mentioned, I'm kind of showing you 3 different color schemes for this project, so you guys get 4 projects in one sort of thing. I ended up pulling out this beautiful fruit paper, and the reason I did this is because in the exhibit they show how they feed the butterflies sugar waters, and they leave out bananas because that's obviously what the butterflies like to eat. I also had this scrap of yellow paper that I'm going to line up down the side just so I can give that, it's sort of like a border so your eye doesn't go off that side of the page. And I also build my titles off of that, so you'll see that in a little bit. But I really liked how the butterflies were facing inward, and then this kind of stopped your eye from going all the way off the page. So in order to complete this side, I'm going to do a little bit of embellishing. I pull out this pink chipboard, which matches those watermelons beautifully. And aren't those beautiful watercolor fruits so pretty? And if you guys did notice, I cut both pieces of the 3x4 cards to keep the pattern going, so that pineapple's split in half, but the pattern keeps going. And this is where I get my title. I use these jelly bean soups that say sweet and love, and then I call it sweet love because I love sweet things to eat. So that's just what I went with. It was hard to try to find somewhere where I could rest these stickers, making them legible enough. Since the fruit pattern is quite busy, I needed something underneath it. I could have went with vellum, which I did look at, but it didn't blur out enough of the pattern to make it legible. So I go with a white doily instead. This is just one from my stash that I have. It's a smaller size, which is perfect. And I end up cutting it down like 3/4, and it sort of covers that whole fruit page, but since it's somewhat transparent, you can still get the idea. So like I said, it's going to say sweet love, which makes sense to me, and I'll kind of touch on that in the journaling, so it makes a little bit more sense. So I glued that down with some wet glue, and then here you'll see me gluing on this flare that I had in my stash. And then this title kind of gave me a little bit of issues. So essentially the cutouts for in between the letters were very difficult to get out. I eventually pull out my tiny tweezers so I could kind of get out those little sticker pieces that are a little bit frustrating. And the same thing happens with the next word, which is love. Luckily the L and then the OVE are separated, so it's a little less worrisome about tearing it, which is what I was really concerned about with the word sweet, because they're very delicate cardstock stickers. But I thought these colors perfectly matched the Wild Whisper collection. They're that perfect peachy color, which brings out the oranges and the pinks of the fruit. And again, I put some more additional liquid adhesive on that just to make sure they stayed stuck for the rest of their life there. And then a little hint of washi tape there, just so I can create a little cluster down there so that your eye moves down the page. With the pictures on the right, they're very similar, very repetitive. It's the same type of butterfly. Well, the large butterfly is the same type of butterfly. So it's very repetitive. They're like in the same exact position. And despite having the bright blue sponge being there that the butterflies are eating off of, I still think that the predominant color scheme went well with it. I went for the warm tones, the pinks, the oranges, the yellows with the fruit pattern, and I really think it helped pull in that theme. There's another cat. Surprise, surprise. Sorry about those interruptions. He likes to be the center of attention sometimes. So now I'm going to include some more of those puffy stickers I mentioned earlier, except this time I'm using just the citrus ones to touch on more of that citrus theme that they love to eat, those little elements. But that's almost it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what your favorite page was, if you like the fruit page, the blue page, or then the floral page at the beginning. I think the fruit page might be my favorite. I think once I got working with the collection more, it came up with more ideas and more ways to use it, and that's how I got this great page at the end. So let me know what you liked the most, and here are some close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out the Wild Whisper store, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.